Last year, Nazareth saw Michael Andretti and Bobby Rahal start on the front row and continue a fight for the cup that lasted to the last minutes of the season. The battle here, won by Rahal, was a classic. This year's championship fight could have been resolved last week at Mid-Ohio, but the fight for the cup is never that easy. Points leader Mansell and Paul Tracy got together in the first turn. Then Mansell was clipped by Lyondike. Race leader Paul Tracy fared no better. This crash ended his chance for another win and left Roger Penske with only one car left with a shot at the cup. That machine was in the hands of Fittipaldi, who understands the odds and takes the risk. Emo took the win and strengthened his grip on the cup. Now at Nazareth, there are two. Emerson Fittipaldi, the veteran, seeking a second crown. Nigel Mansell, the reigning world champion, the IndyCar rookie, looking to make history. The object of both men's focus is a simple cup that to them is worth every risk. Well, today here in Nazareth, it's the biggest crowd ever for the Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix as the Indy cars are ready to take to the track again. A beautiful day today, but yesterday, practice and qualifying was rained out, and so they are lined up in order of the point standings with Nigel Mansell on the pole. Let's go trackside and Gary Gerald.
Final instructions for Nigel Mansell. Unlike the 6 other times that he started on the pole this year, no bonus point this time because there was no official qualifying session due to the inclement weather. But there are a couple of things that make Nigel Mansell a very happy man nonetheless today, Paul. Most notably, yesterday he announced signing a new multi-year agreement with Newman Haas Racing. He's going to be back in IndyCars for at least the next 2 seasons. Now keep in mind a couple of things here. Minimum track time for everybody. Yet Mansell had a test session here last month. He was very, very fast, close to the track record. He was extremely quick in the session this morning, so the confidence level is high. And even though his championship lead was carved from 35 points to 14 last week at Mid-Ohio, there is the opportunity to clinch the title again today, and along with it, that hefty $1 million PPG
so Mansell
bonus.
is comfortable with his long-term future, but what about the near term? He still has a championship on his mind. Let's look at the points. Mansell leads now by 14. Emerson Fittipaldi must score well here today if he wants to stay in the championship. It's a do-or-die situation. Mansell, if he wants to be the champion today, must leave here 23 points ahead of Emerson Fittipaldi. Now let's consider the track. We call it a tri-oval, but the race car tends to see it more as a road course. Well, if it is an oval, Mansell has scored 75 of his points on ovals. But if it's a road course, Emerson Fittipaldi has scored 107 points on road courses. Added to that, Fittipaldi is twice a champion here. And this track is owned by his car owner, Roger Penske, so he may have an advantage. But Derek Daly, in this championship, much has changed in the past 2 weeks.
It really has. About 2 weeks ago, it certainly looked as if Nigel Mansell had a firm grasp on this IndyCar championship, not just because of his own superb performances, but also because his main rival, Emerson Fittipaldi, seemed to falter and lose momentum at a critical time of the season. Now, last week at Mid-Ohio, not 10 seconds after the start of the race, Nigel Mansell hit the back of Paul Tracy, sending Tracy slightly sideways, bending his own left front suspension, effectively taking him out of that race. Fittipaldi went on to win, so that move by Mansell has now effectively opened up this championship again and left it up for grabs. Now, something else Mansell will have to contend with this afternoon is Paul Tracy, I believe, will now act under team orders to try and help in whatever way he can Fittipaldi to win this championship.
All in all, it leads to a very exciting afternoon in the Indy cars. When we come back, a superstar returns while a great engine manufacturer leaves. Everybody anticipating the start here, the drivers on the pit road. So many stories developing in the last few weeks. Let's get an update now. Trackside again, here's Jan Beekes.
Paul, on Tuesday, Chevrolet announced that at the end of the season, they'd be withdrawing from IndyCar competition. But that doesn't mean you won't see these engines in the IndyCars. The Chevrolet A, B, and C that are built by Ilmor Engineering will still be supported by Ilmor. Now, Ilmor is also building what would have been the Chevrolet Indy D, and it'll be known next year simply as the Ilmor Indy 94. Chevrolet has powered the PPG Cup champion every year since 1988. It's now in Emerson Fittipaldi's hands to see, will Chevrolet leave with another driver's championship?
Now, they have qualified here by order of the point standing as they came to this track. On the pole is Nigel Mansell, the Kmart Haviland Lola, alongside Emerson Fittipaldi and his Marlboro Penske. In row number 2 is Raul Boisel, the Duracell Mobil 1 Lola, and Paul Tracy in another Marlboro Penske. The third row, Bobby Rahal in the Miller Genuine Draft, and Mario Andretti in a Kmart Texaco Lola. In row 4, Al Unser Jr. in the Valvoline Lola, and Ari Luyendyk in the Target Scotch Video Car. In the 5th row, Robbie Gordon in the A.J. Foyt Copenhagen Lola, and Scott Goodyear in the McKenzie Special. The 6th row, Teo Fabi, the Pennzoil Special, and Danny Sullivan in the Molson Lola. In the 7th row, Scott Brayton in the Amway Northwest Airlines car, and Stefan Johansson in the Emax Energy and Metals Penske. In the 8th row, it's Eddie Cheever in the Budweiser Rolla, and Willie T. Ribbs in the Service Merchandise car. The 9th row, Robbie Buell, the MyJack car, and Brian Till in the Say No to Drugs Penske. The 10th row, Mark Smith in the Craftsman car, and Hiro Mashushita in the Panasonic Lola. The 11th row, David Coudray in the Andrea Moda Egypt Lola, and Olivier Griard in the Eurosports Marlboro car. The 12th row, Marco Greco in the Alfa Laval Team Losi Lola, and Ross Bentley in the Agfa Rain-X Lola. In the last row, Mauricio Gugelmin in the Hollywood American Blend car, and Buddy Lazier in the Financial World Lola. Now, one of the big stories here this weekend has been Michael Andretti. He left a year ago. Last year, Michael made a long-anticipated move to Formula One.
It's something I've always dreamed about, driving Formula One, and as I've always said to most of you, that when I did finally get into Formula One, I did want to do it with a top team.
Michael's year got off to literally no start. Clutch failure on the grid at South Africa. Then in Brazil, Carl Wendlinger moved over on Michael, leading Andretti into this horrifying crash with Gerhard Berger. There were more disappointments. But by last week's race at Monza, Italy, Michael was showing signs of improvement, capturing his first podium finish, a third. But in a move that surprised many, Michael announced plans to return to the Indy cars and forego the last 3 races of the Formula One season. Now he's with Gary.
Indeed he is, and we should point out, obviously not racing today, won't be driving at Laguna Seca 2 weeks from now, but the testing for the new Reynard chassis and Chip Ganassi begins in November. And Michael, the question I'm wondering, how big of a gamble, how much risk do you think you're taking coming to a team that is yet to win in IndyCar racing and going with a developmental chassis?
Well, it's always a risk when you make a new move, but I have a lot of confidence in Chip Ganassi Racing. I think they've made a lot of progress throughout the years, and I think they're on the verge of hitting it right. And also with Reynard cars, you have to look at their track record. They've won in every formula they've been in, so there's no reason why they can't win here. So it's going to take a lot of work, but I feel confident that together we can all do it.
And I know that just watching you this weekend, that even though there's been disappointment in Formula One, you're happy to be back with the Indy cars.
It's good to be back with everybody here. I love everybody here, and it's good to be back home.
We look forward to seeing you in the cockpit again.
Thanks.
Paul?
It's not only Michael that's happy. You should have seen the fans here in his hometown when they realized Michael was coming back. We'll be back with racing at Nazareth in a moment. Back at the Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix, Ben Dixon of Bosch Corporation has just given the command to start engines, and already they are rolling behind the PPG pace cars. Plenty of onboard cameras for you today, of course, riding with Nigel Mansell. Will he leave here as the IndyCar champion and make history in doing so? Also back in the field, other onboard cameras available to give us full coverage of this race course here today. Danny Sullivan carries an onboard camera, both this one that looks head-on at Danny and one over his shoulder. And then Bobby Rahal, one here last year, carries this nose cam, which seems to receive a lot of praise and compliments because it gives the most realistic view as to what the driver himself may see in the cockpit. We mentioned that the weather was not as pleasant as it may be. In fact, it rained all day yesterday. Weather looks good here today. Here on the line, 200 laps, 200 miles, first pit stops, depending on yellows, coming about the 65th to the 70th lap. Today, the weather, no factor whatsoever. Beautiful skies overhead. It should be a magnificent afternoon. They're strung out single file right now as they bring the tires up to temperature, and we're very, very close to going racing here. But first, let's go down to the pits and Gary Gerald.
Paul, a quick note. Following the session this morning, Paul Tracy had problems with an engine. They changed the engine. They got it into the car. They got it tested. Now they'll find out how effective it's going to be. But there's concern because this is not the Ace race engine. This is number 2 in the series. And they're just waiting to see how well it will perform. He'd been happy with the way the car was working this morning.
Paul Tracy seeks his position in the field during the morning warm-up, and they did have one. That man alongside of Tracy, Raul Boisel, was the fastest in the morning practice. Apparently a very light fuel load, but he did break the track record here with some superlative laps. Also, Mansell was incredibly good in the laps that he laid down.
And of course, we have here one of the most unusual racetracks. Unusual because it's the only oval that we have with elevation changes. The key to success here, well, it's your ability to handle traffic. You have to think almost a full corner ahead. Top speeds over 180 miles an hour, with the slowest speed being through turn 2 at 140 miles an hour. One of the fascinating things about this racetrack is things seem to happen at twice normal speed.
And can be blind in some places traveling at those speeds, especially down in the first turn. As you're turning in, if something happens in front of you, you have very little opportunity to react. Looking over the right shoulder of Danny Sullivan now as he works his way around the track. The PPG safety cars pull off, and it is now with Johnny Rutherford in the pace car. One more lap to go.
One more lap to get the tires up to temperature. Look at Emerson on the outside of Mansell, accelerates. What that does, it actually brings the turbocharger up to speed, pressurizes the whole induction system, so as he has 45 inches of boost as soon as he sees that green flag.
Now, if you're keeping a close count on the points, because they are lined up in the position of the points coming to this race, no point was awarded for the pole position. So it remains exactly the same as they left at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Interestingly enough, too, lining them up in the points, Derek, really pretty much reflected what we thought might be the qualifying lineup.
Well, exactly. I mean, some people do lose out, some people gain. But, I mean, overall, it probably was a reasonably fair way to do it. Here's one of these elevation changes. They come from the top of the hill on a downhill run to everybody's favorite braking area into turn 3. That's where we will see lots of action today.
Lights are off on the pace car as they're on the backstretch, which is also the exit and entrance to the pits. The field comes into alignment now. These races can be whirlwinds here at Nazareth. They are magnificent and they are fast, but they also can spell disaster very quickly, as Derek already suggested. Now the pace picks up as Nigel Mansell brings them down. The yellow flag comes out. They say no start. The field will go around again.
Didn't
like Fittipaldi lagged back a bit.
Exactly. Didn't like the formation. The starter has control. Mansell was 2 car lengths ahead of Fittipaldi. So he said, we only have a short lap. Let's do it all over again.
They come back into alignment once again. Again, it's very important to keep both temperature in the tires and keep them scrubbed clean. Though this is a wonderfully clean surface that Roger Penske has laid out here. Danny Sullivan was involved in the initial investment of this track as well. They very wisely had a local paving contractor as one of the people involved in the track when they moved it over from what used to be a dirt track to the asphalt oval and tri-oval that it is now. That warm-up lane on the inside, by the way, is an idea of Rick Mears, and a very good one. You notice it was copied at the Indianapolis Speedway this year. Now here we go. And the green comes out this time. As Nigel Mansell drops back a bit, Tracy comes sweeping around, and the Penske cars lead this race going into the first corner. Now moving to the back stretch. Mansell sits back in third.
Tracy was the one that got a superb jump to go outside Nigel Mansell, but look at this.
Mansell looking for any room he can on Tracy, and he's fighting with him. That's a bit of a surprise. When I saw him drop back early, certainly no direct intent of Mansell, I thought, well, maybe he's just going to play it cozy here on the first lap. But then he comes up to challenge Tracy, and now Boesel comes up to challenge Mansell.
Things happen so fast here at Nazareth. Lap after lap goes by in just about 20 seconds. But the Penske cars, as we've seen earlier this year, now commanding even at this early stage. But Boesel is giving Mansell all the trouble he needs.
Light is here for third as Boesel comes up, darts to the inside. Here's the braking area that Derek mentioned. And Boesel moves into third place as Mansell drops backwards. Still in a good position to maintain the championship. This will have to be for Mansell a very tactical battle here today. The front of the field, it's Fittipaldi. Tracy runs in second. They are not challenged.
Boesel looks good. You mentioned it earlier. Broke the track record this morning in this car. Did a 19.7, which was the fastest car ever around here. We do expect him to mount a good challenge to Fittipaldi and Tracy. But Mansell is lagging behind. He had trouble this morning in the practice session with a water leak in that primary car.
Of course, speaking of Raul Boesel, the practice is unofficial, so even though he broke the record, he won't go into the record book as having broken this track record here. Second place, Paul Tracy. Remember, he had that disaster at Mid-Ohio 2 weeks ago, leading the race once again this year, and then suddenly off course and into the barrier. Now, Derek, at the start, we were talking a little bit about team orders and how they might figure in. Already, they're coming up onto slower cars and begin to overhaul traffic. But what are we talking about on team orders?
Well, team orders will be he will help Fittipaldi by dropping back behind him if necessary. Team orders doesn't mean he would become a blocker against Mansell, but he will pave the way, if he can, for Fittipaldi to take away maximum points from this race.
Already encountering slower traffic, the two Marlboro cars, and they begin a challenge on one another as Paul Tracy looks to the outside. Let's get an audio update from Jan Beekes.
Paul, when you're talking about the speed of Raul Boesel, he is the most confident he has been all season. He says, I love the handling of this car. He says, boy, why couldn't we have had qualifying? I would have loved to have been on the pole. He also said, my car can go either way. I have my sway bars in the car right in the middle. If I get pushed or I get loose, I can make this car do whatever I want.
You know, the amazing thing with Boesel is we watch Mansell work his way through traffic with Gugelmin just ahead of him. This morning, it was still very humid. And out of the back of Boesel's car, the contrails that you normally see in humid air at the rear of the wings were actually coming out from the underside of his car, which gives you an idea of the aerodynamics on the bottom.
Exactly. Such was the downforce created by Boesel's car. Look at Tracy around the outside of Emerson.
Paul Tracy makes his move to the outside, tries to use traffic, but it may not work for him this time. That's Mashusta just ahead. It does work for Tracy. He sweeps well around Fittipaldi, and he picks up the lead of the race. But at the same time, moving in is Boesel as he closes in on Fittipaldi.
Well, he obviously thinks he can be more help to Emerson by getting clear of this traffic at the moment. An interesting move by Tracy.
So the lead changes as Fittipaldi gives way to Paul Tracy. And now Fittipaldi has Raul Boesel just behind him and ready to challenge. So the lead changes here in the early going with 11 laps complete. Paul Tracy continues his lead in the Bosch Park Plug Grand Prix. Fittipaldi is second. The battle is here at third place with Nigel Mansell sitting just behind Raul Boesel. In that exchange between Fittipaldi and Tracy, Fittipaldi lost 4 points, something he can't afford to do, and brings us back to the whole team orders issue. As Nigel Mansell tries to move to the outside of Boesel, almost gets pinched to the wall. They split a slower car just in front of them. Whoa!
We said it earlier, trying to anticipate traffic and using it to your advantage can play a major role here at Nazareth in the outcome of this race.
But of course, to anticipate it, you have to see it. And at the velocity differences here, sometimes you're on top of the car before you actually realize it's there. And look at Mansell as he ducks to the inside, gets cut off once again. Now he has to handle up a pass on Robbie Buell. He does, and he continues. Now his pursuit of Boesel will stay on board with Mansell.
This is turn one. It should be flat. Yes, it is. This is uphill. Bozell.
Jan Beekes, you have an update.
Well, when you watch these cars and you watch them diving through traffic, keep in mind that when they come right up behind another car, it takes the air away from the front wings. Most of these teams have put more front wing into the car for the race setup, but they cannot come right up on the gearbox. They have to hang a front wing out so they have downforce to keep the car so it will turn into the corners.
Continuing battle for third as we look back to the lead of the race. Fittipaldi and Paul Tracy. Paul Tracy is the leader. And they both, of course, encountering traffic as well. So you get an idea here of the speed and how busy it can be as look at them work their way around Stefan Johansson.
And they are both 93 Penske's here, but Johansson obviously does not enjoy the same type of comfortable setup that Tracy does. But look at the traffic jam here as they go uphill over the top at turn 2 and then the downhill run to the braking zone.
And of course, if you are the fast car in overtaking, well, you can be surprised by a sudden move. By the same token, if you're a slower car, the leaders can come up on you very quickly, and that's one of the things the leaders have to look for, is to feel like there's an awareness in front of them. Moving back to Nigel Mansell in his battle with Raoul Boisel. This is the fight for third. Arie Luyendyk, by the way, runs in 5th right now. Ray Hall is 6th. 7th is Scott Goodyear. In 8th is Robbie Gordon, followed by Eddie Cheever and Mario Andretti.
One of Mansell's strongest points, and we saw it in oval track races earlier this year. He is superb in traffic.
Whoa.
Look at this. Matt Schuster gets a shake of the fist from Mansell. Mansell was going to go outside, realized he couldn't do it, inside couldn't do it. Shake of the fist, and away he goes.
Matt Schuster here in the early laps has been running right down the middle of the track. That kind of move has occurred more than once. Now it's occurred with Mansell. And Mansell was not at all happy with it. By the way, Raoul Boisel is the fastest car on the race course thus far. He is turning laps on a full fuel load in the 20s at 20.9.
Bozell is still embroiled in traffic here. Mansell seems to be able to take the chances just a little bit more than Bozell and is able to keep up with him. Danny Sullivan we see beside him running very slowly, or just behind them.
So as the field strings out now with 26 laps already complete, 26 miles of the 200-mile scheduled distance. We have been green flag all the way. We started with Fittipaldi jumping to the lead, and look at Mansell. Mansell and Bozell coming to battle once again. And again, Mansell is able to hold the position. But Bozell is very definitely there and very eager. Remember that Bozell sits 3rd in the points right now and wants to protect that position as well. Paul Tracy is still our leader here in Nazareth. At the Boss Sparkplug Grand Prix, we look at the interval leaderboard, and to correct the comment at the end of the last, of course, Nigel Mansell is in 3rd place ahead of Raoul Boisel, but you can see in the right column there the seconds and tenths back from the leader, Paul Tracy. Still very, very tight at the front of the field, but the fight is here with Raoul Boisel now being challenged by Arie Luyendyk. Remember, this is a car that next year that Luyendyk is driving now will be occupied by Michael Andretti. Luyendyk is not scheduled to return to the Ganassi team. So today, a drive for him is an opportunity to show other sponsors and other owners that he deserves a ride with them next year.
And he is looking for employment, but he's about to get the position inside Bozell.
Picks up an excellent opportunity, moving on Al Unser Jr. and moves around Bozell, sitting just in front of him now, the Craftsman car. That's Mark Smith. It is not a factor in this battle, but definitely a factor in the opportunity of Luyendyk to move up. Scott Goodyear now closes in on Bozell, and that is a fight as well. Bozell may be in trouble. If Goodyear can reel him in that quickly and get around him, as he does, Bozell must have a problem.
Clearly in trouble. The good handling he enjoyed earlier has gone away from that car now. We've seen some earlier pit stops, so I would not be surprised to see Bozell make a stop at the first opportunity that's available to him.
34 laps already complete. As they roll him off quick here, Scott Goodyear now looks for an opportunity around Luyendyk. Begins to worry him at the back of the car. This is a battle for 4th place.
Goodyear was not fast this morning during practice. Didn't like the handling of this car. If they started it on grid on practice time, he was way down in 15th place. They made changes to that car. It is back on Coney shock absorbers, and that car is much better. But look at Robbie Gordon now.
Robbie Gordon now coming up on the back of Raoul Boisel as well. The question, of course, Jan Beekes, maybe you can help us. What might be wrong with Boisel?
Boisel has called in the car is getting loose, Paul. The track seems to be getting loose because we had two cars come in when we were away from commercial. Mauricio Guzman as well as Danny Sullivan both came in, said their cars were very loose. They got adjustments. They are right now making tire pressure adjustments to Raoul Boisel's car for the pit stop. But they don't want to come in now. They'll wait for that pit window, which will open about 60 to 62.
The worst possible handling situation you can have on an oval is for the car to go loose, because you cannot simply back off. It gets scary. It may jump away from you. So a loose condition is something that worries every driver between the concrete walls here.
And is part of that the fact that they had so little practice time this morning, they didn't really know where they could get the car set up so that it would dial back toward loose?
That's the problem. You can't run this number of laps during practice consecutively. They now have 38 laps run consecutively. That's the problem.
Moving up to the battle for second place now as Mansell comes up and begins to challenge with Fittipaldi. Battle for the track, battle for the championship. Paul Tracy is just a few hundred yards ahead. There's Fittipaldi. You can see the rear wing of his car. Look at Mansell. He weaves left. He leads light. There's Rahal sitting just in front of them.
Oh, this is a great fight. I'm sure Emerson would love to have Tracy back there to help him to block, to be a bit of a blocker on Mansell, not necessarily to block him trying to make a pass, but I'll tell you what, support from your teammate in this situation when you're under attack is welcome.
And once they got around Rahal, did you see how fast they pulled away? Now they swing, fighting traffic again as Fittipaldi moves up to the outside of Johansson, and Mansell loses ground.
Bad run in traffic there for Mansell. He was all over Emerson, and suddenly within one lap, we said it earlier, it happened so fast here, suddenly he loses almost 2 seconds.
Continuing under green flag racing, 41 laps complete. Tracy still the leader. Fittipaldi was the early leader. He now runs in second, and Mansell has broken off contact for the moment. So it's static at the front of the field as the battle of the championship continues. At the Bosch Park Plug Grand Prix, Nigel Mansell was able to mount a challenge on Emerson Fittipaldi and get around into second. Now he is beginning to challenge Paul Tracy. So here is a fight for the lead, and look at him dial inside of Tracy. The crowd comes to their feet and begins to cheer as Mansell comes into the lead.
What a move by Mansell. He is so decisive. Now he's outside of Mario Andretti, his teammate.
Mario. He just completely blows an identical car right into the weeds.
Mario obviously is not happy with that car. We hear it is loose. That is the driver's nightmare here. He is loose. But Mansell's car is exceptional at this stage of the race. He did set fastest lap of the race at a 20.8. But the two Penske cars are in trouble after 48 laps.
Brian Till has come into the pits because he's been complaining his car is loose. Mario Andretti just headed down pit road as well. I guess that pass by Mansell convinced him. But every time Mansell makes a pass down the front straightaway, all of the crowd just comes to their feet and begins to cheer. Let's go back and take a look at what put him in this position. Here was Mansell challenging Fittipaldi.
Tries to go outside, gets a great run. Now look, from in-car down the inside under braking, and Fittipaldi has nothing to do except allow him to go by. Within 2 laps, he attacked Paul Tracy, which you see right here. Same favorite position down the inside under braking. Wasn't able to pull it off, but boy, did he get a run. Watch this here. Now watch the weaving. Look, look, look. Weaves, trying to make sure he lines the car up for turn 1. Decisive moves, passing both Penskes within the space of 2 laps.
And with Mansell doing that and now looking back from his car to the rest of the field, Mansell gains 4 points and now leads by 18 points over Emerson Fittipaldi. Paul Tracy has been in and out of the pits, Gary Gerald.
Indeed, and it's the same problem, Paul. The car suddenly turned loose, and they couldn't afford to wait to get to the normal pit window. They came in, they made a wing change, trying to get better handling characteristics. Mario Andretti also came in, and they did change the wicker bill, trying to help his handling woes in the early stages.
The reason they come in early, they lose less time by making a pit stop and an adjustment than staying out on the racetrack hoping that you can drive around the problem. That never happens here at Nazareth.
Scott Goodyear challenges Fittipaldi and takes over second place as they work through traffic. So perhaps what's wrong with Paul Tracy's car is also wrong with Fittipaldi's car. So Scott Goodyear slides into second place, still led by Mansell. Third place Fittipaldi, Lyondike fourth, then Robbie Gordon. Raul Boisel has fallen back to sixth now. In seventh is Eddie Cheever. Stefan Johansson is eighth. Jan Bikas, you have something further.
Paul, you keep talking about what's wrong with the cars. Keep in mind that these cars were nice and balanced when the race started, but the track itself has gone to loose. All we can do from that is we can say that Nigel Mansell must have started this race with a car that was pushing. When the track went loose, now his car is perfect. That's why he dropped back in the beginning. Now he's flying. So those that didn't start with a push are now in big trouble.
Also keeping an eye on the 14 car, the Copenhagen car of Robbie Gordon. He started in 9th place, now sitting up in 5th place and ready to challenge Ari Lyondike.
We saw Johansson get passed very easily by the factory Penske's earlier, and now look, he is actually faster than Emerson and looking for a way past.
Boisel now moving in position with Eddie Cheever moving around him. Look at Cheever there, the replacement driver for the remainder of the season for Roberto Guerrero, and he just went around him like he was standing still.
It gives you an idea how perfectly set up these racing cars have to be to get the optimum performance. If they're off either side, you don't just slow down a little bit, you slow down dramatically. That's what we're seeing here. And of course, with no practice, it's exaggerated this problem.
You know, one thing that can happen here, though, is look at Goodyear. Sweeps back and forth all over the place. You want to question whether that car's handling okay?
Whoa, for a driver to do that, he must have confidence in his car to so violently turn it left and right. So Goodyear obviously feels good.
So the question I think we have to constantly run through our minds, though, as we've seen some key figures in this race stop a little bit early. They're making adjustments, but while they're making adjustments, they're also taking fuel. So some cars are going to be out of the order coming to the finish of the race. That can make a world of difference here at Nazareth. Back at Nazareth, the Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix, as they continue to fight their way through traffic. And just any second now, we ought to see some of the key players in this race head into the pits.
And this is a great battle here again, but earlier on, to give you an idea how fast things happen here and how frustrated drivers get. Watch this. That's Robbie Gordon ahead of Nigel Mansell. Mansell tries to make the move down the inside and doesn't pull it off. Watch this.
The move would put Gordon a lap down.
Got the chop, and Mansell is saying to the flagman, wave the blue, move over, flag at Gordon, I want to get by.
So Emerson Fittipaldi continues to run in 4th place. He needs to come up much higher than that. Gary, you have an update there.
Well, just like Paul Tracy and so many others, Fittipaldi's car is starting to take on loose handling characteristics, but they're going to try to stick it out, and they're projecting lap 70 as their first pit stop, Paul.
Well, that's only 4 laps away as Fittipaldi continues to try and fight with and handle this circuit. He runs alongside of Johansson now, and they continue to work their way through traffic.
We just saw Al Jr. peel off into the pit lane there. Very slow today, was not confident he could get that car handling to his liking. But Emerson seems to have been able to hang on to this handling problem and will definitely try and rectify it during his pit stop.
Pit stops here, of course, so critical because in 19 seconds under green, they're around and back on the start-finish line. It takes 15 seconds to refuel the race car, 12 seconds if they're doing it really fast, so your chance of losing in the pits is critical here. Fittipaldi, he sits 22 points now behind Nigel Mansell. That will not help him toward a championship here today. If he falls one more position further backwards, then Nigel Mansell can go away from here with the championship. Scott Goodyear makes his first stop from 2nd place, Jan.
Scott Goodyear stops it on the marks. They have no radio communication. Let's watch him closely to see if he makes any hand gestures to the crew. Obviously, everyone else here has gone loose. He hasn't made any gestures. They've made no changes to the car. He's down and he's away.
Well, the Mackenzie car goes back into the fight. The first of the leaders to make his stop. Mansell leads this race. Ari Leyendijk picked up second place with the stop by Goodyear, then Fittipaldi, then Gordon, then Johansson. And here comes Fittipaldi as he rolls, keeping very conscious of the speed limit, into the Penske pits, down at the far end, very close to the exit of the pits. In fact, he pulls out of here and makes a left, and he is on the pit lane immediately.
And when they finish changing the tires, there's the adjustment. This is the front wing. They elect to go front rather than rear. Probably takes some downforce out of that car, hoping to give him the necessary balance.
So in 13.6 seconds, Fittipaldi makes his stop, rolls back into the action, but the time spent in the pits, he fell well behind. Of course, everyone will have the same penalty, but the penalty is controlled by the skill of the pit crew. Nigel Mansell is now on the pit road, the leader of the race, as he rolls down again all the way through the pits and very close to the exit before he will come to a stop at Newman Haas Racing, Gary Gerald. He comes in, starts his stop. Gary?
Yes, indeed. 3 pits from the exit. They're not expecting any changes. Nigel questioned on the radio, we're told, whether or not they might make a wing adjustment. They have not. And boy, does he smoke the tires getting out of here.
So Mansell comes back into the fight.
When you make no changes on that pit stop, it means you are in good shape here, particularly when everybody around you seems to have troubles. Mansell and his engineering staff, led by Peter Gibbons, have come up with a very good setup for Mansell to try and clinch this championship with.
Kmart Haviland Rolola back into the fight. Nigel Mansell was the leader as he came in. Let's get an update on Ari Leyendijk's stop. Jan Beekes?
Paul, when Ari Leyendijk came in, they made a very quick stop at the Chip Ganassi crew, but the fuel probe stuck when they took it off. They pulled it back over the wall, and it was spraying fuel on the other side. A very scary moment, and then it snapped shut. They haven't lost too much fuel out of the tank. It's not a fire hazard, but a scary moment for Ganassi Racing.
Remember, it's methanol fuel here on the Indy car. It's not gasoline, but still, they can flash into flame, and when it does so, the flame is all but invisible. Remember Herm Johnson's fire in the inaugural Michigan 500. Mansell back, threading his way through traffic.
His ability to slice through traffic is enormous compared to most other drivers here. That is a big advantage that Mansell takes into this cockpit every time he gets in on an oval.
And of all the key stops now complete, Nigel Mansell remains the leader with Scott Goodyear in second, Stefan Johansson up to third. Back at the Bosch Sparkplug Grand Prix, Raoul Boisel is heading out of the pits after his stop. Mansell is still leader. The second place car is Scott Goodyear. Ari Leyendijk is third. Johansson was able to hold off 76 laps before he made his stop in the pits, and that of course dropped him out of third place and well back in the order. We have been under green flag running since the start of the day here. A remarkable run and very, very fast. The fastest of the cars is Nigel Mansell. In second place is Goodyear, who has been quick, but he can't keep up with Mansell. Al Unser Jr. is in the pits. Obviously, because the cowling is off, there's something seriously wrong there.
And when they disconnect the driver's helmet, you know his day is over. Lots of talk about what he will do next year. He told me he, in fact, has not signed anything yet, although there is a firm belief that he does have a contract agreement with some new team.
Stefan Johansson was reacting to the black flag, which brought him in for a pit speed violation. And now, after making his stop-and-go penalty in his pit box, heads back to the race. The leader is still Mansell. He still has plenty of traffic ahead.
I mentioned Al Jr., some new team to him, obviously not a new team to IndyCar racing.
And he's one of the big question marks in where he does go next season. And the rumors have continued to fly left and right about where little Al ends up. Of course, you'll remember at Mid-Ohio, we asked many of these drivers, well, where are you going next year? He said, oh, I'm going somewhere. I'm just not sure. Well, I don't want to announce it.
Well, I think when the domino effect
Danny Sullivan on the pit road
will definitely start this weekend, now that Michael Andretti has made his announcement and Mansell has made his. You will see in the next 2 or 3 weeks all the available seats suddenly, I think, being filled.
Danny Sullivan rolls in fairly slowly to a stop. You wonder if this car has a similar ailment to that car, his teammate Al Unser Jr.
Remember New Hampshire? Danny Sullivan, the handling was so bad that he elected to actually take the car into the pit lane and park it for the day because he said he was a danger to himself and to everybody else on the track out there with him.
This time he's going to keep at it as he goes back into the fight. And look at the traffic in front of Mansell as he comes up and passes Emerson Fittipaldi. Not just yet. More traffic. Ashusta figures into it here. I bet he gets another wave for that one.
Well, you can clearly see Mansell never hangs back. There is no conservative moves here at all being made by Mansell, even though he does have a championship lead to try and protect. This is vintage Mansell in attack mode all the time. That's why so many people enjoy watching this man on the racetrack.
Fittipaldi is the 4th place car, just ahead of Mansell. And Mansell wants to lap him. Mansell wants to discourage him psychologically if he can and say, look, I can put you a lap down. You're not just in 4th, you're a mile behind.
Well, whatever team orders that Penske may have had or may have instigated with Paul Tracy, he needs a lot of help now because the handling of this car is not going to put them in a position to realistically challenge Mansell at the moment from what we can see.
Averaging 156 miles an hour, well above the race record. And look at Mansell just sweep around Fittipaldi, puts him a lap down, and continues his surge forward. Al Unser Jr. out of the race now with Gary Gerald.
Indeed. Junior, there was a lot of heat build up, and you were smelling something. You thought your car was on fire. Was that the case?
Well, I believe so. I haven't really checked into it yet, but the electronics, it smelled like the electronics were burning up. And then my dashboard went out, and then the engine started missing real bad, and then on my end lap, it just quit running totally. So
everybody's handling characteristics seem to change so abruptly in this race. How about from your seat?
Oh, very much so. My car went off really bad, and it's just from the lack of running. You know, we got rained out yesterday. We have zero practice. You know, we had a half hour this morning, and then a 10-minute break, and then another half-hour session. And nobody's had any practice. The track's changing an awful lot, and the cars, therefore, are changing an awful lot because of no practice. And so, really, the outcome of this race is not yet unfolded to you.
Just before you came in here, they were talking in the booth about different drivers' plans. Anything you can tell us? Have you signed anything? Have you made any deals yet for 94?
No. We're just trying to win the races this year.
All right, we'll see you at Laguna.
Thank you.
Well, he's in one that he isn't going to win. He isn't going to finish. One more to go for Al Unser Jr. and the rest of the IndyCar contingent at Laguna Seca, California in 2 weeks. Nigel Mansell still leads it and is the class of this field.
And Al Unser Jr. was here for the official kart test several weeks ago. They were half a second off the pace then. So obviously that was a prelude to the difficulties they have experienced through this weekend here.
So the order now with 95 laps complete and they approach the halfway point is Nigel Mansell. Michael Andretti watching from the Ganassi pits. The highlight here at Nazareth, Pennsylvania in the Bosch Park Plug Grand Prix is Nigel Mansell. He's literally driving away from the rest of the field. Keeping pace with him, but not able to come up and close on him is Scott Goodyear in 2nd place. In 3rd is Ari Luyendyk. Those are the only 3 cars on the leader's lap.
And Mansell loves to make those moves down the... Oh, look at this, down the outside, but he threads his way, but he never does it cautiously. He just slices in and out, such as the confidence level he has in himself, but more importantly, in that car that he's in.
There you saw the interval back to Scott Goodyear in 2nd place. It sits at 8.2 seconds, and he is encountering traffic now, but traffic has been a factor for everybody the whole way, and again, we have been green the whole way. We've just passed the halfway point. We're at 102 laps, 102 miles. Robbie Gordon, who sits in 5th place, is having another great run, finished 2nd at Mid-Ohio. And looking strong here today. Another driver we still don't know where he ends up next year.
And that was the back of Ray Hall that we were having a little peek out from. And Goodyear, you saw him move to the outside and in a flash makes the pass and pulls away. Things happen so fast here at Nazareth. That is Bozell now creeping down the inside of Mario, who is having a terrible day.
Could be an interesting battle developing here, though, as Robbie Gordon comes up behind Scott Goodyear. Not a battle for position, but Gordon has been so spectacular in traffic all year. Now he pulls away from Goodyear, and he pulls up into the traffic. Goodyear looking to the fast lane to fight. We look now at 6th position as the fight with Paul Tracy, Eddie Cheever.
Tracy obviously making great headway since his earlier stop. Remember, he is still out of sequence on the pit stops, but he just takes that position away from Eddie Cheever, who is another man to miss out tremendously on no practice time here because he has had 0 laps in this car on an oval track.
Brand new car, brand new team to him. Only 1 race under their belt as he replaces Roberto Guerrero.
And how long did that race last? 2 misfiring laps at Mid-Ohio, exactly. So virtually no race time in this car at all. Backed by Budweiser, run by Kenny Bernstein.
And here another driver that wants to put in the best possible showing he can here today. Robbie Gordon continues his battle with Eddie Cheever, not a battle for position, or with Scott Goodyear, not a battle for position, but still an entertaining fight on the course. Jan, you have an update on him?
Yes, he is the only driver that did not say that he had the car go off like everyone else. They said they had a neutral car at the beginning, and the car is still neutral. I'm not sure how you can do that with all the other Lolas getting loose, but right now, Robbie Gordon, very happy.
Robbie Gordon doesn't know what a loose car is.
I wonder.
Because when a car is sideways, he loves it. That's the way he can drive it. His talent level is so high, he can drive a car loose without any trouble at all, even between these concrete walls. But look at Goodyear down the inside.
Scott Goodyear, as he almost loses the back end as they head down to the inside, he continues to hold off Gordon.
Now that was inches, maybe even a quarter of an inch, because Goodyear, or Robbie Gordon, did not want to back off too much behind Olivia Grillard, and he just tried to squeeze down. That's why you saw those tiny little movements of the steering wheel, but however, Goodyear was gone.
Mansell still runs away with it, looking for a championship in the Indy cars. In 2nd place is Scott Goodyear. Let's take another look at this, Derek.
It's coming out of turn 2. Here it is, coming out of turn 2. There's Robbie Gordon. He tries to squeeze in, hoping to stay alongside Goodyear. Oh, he actually hits him. Can you believe that? At 175 miles an hour, they actually brush wheels on the run down to the braking zone. Well, 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 you don't often get away with high-speed wheel touching like that.
In tracking the championship, if he can stay right here, Nigel Mansell will make history here at Nazareth today. He needed to be 23 points ahead of Fittipaldi at the checkered flag. Right now, he's 25 points ahead of Fittipaldi and has picked up the bonus point for leading the most laps. 112 miles, 112 laps are complete of the 200-lap scheduled distance. And they are running under green flag with the very real possibility now of going green all the way to the checkered. Back in Nazareth at the Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix, Nigel Mansell continues his powerful dominance here and continues to be in a position to take the championship at the end of this day. He is followed by Scott Goodyear and Paul Tracy, then Arie Luyendyk. Emerson Fittipaldi is a full lap behind now. Robbie Gordon really on the fly coming up through this field. You look out the front end of Bobby Rahal's car.
Oh, and that was Nigel Mansell that went by him. There is so little room to spare when you make some of these passes. But Mansell, I mean, he is absolutely grabbing this race by the scruff of the neck and just taking the fight straight to Emerson and trying to beat him into the ground here.
Rahal runs in 9th place right now. We'll give you the bottom half of the top 10. Fittipaldi, Boesel, Johansson, Rahal, and Cheever.
And you see Mansell about to put the move again on Tracy. Doesn't quite squeeze around the outside.
And here's where he has to be so very careful, and look at him doing it. Giving Tracy a lot of respect coming to this. No doubt remembering what happened to him a week ago when he was side by side with Tracy in the first corner. Now slower traffic, Johansson just ahead. Boesel ahead of him. Mansell's around Tracy.
Well, I definitely expected these Penske cars, because of the amount of track time they have spent on this racetrack here. They know every nook and cranny, but I did expect them to be a stronger challenge to Mansell here.
Keeping in mind, as Tracy runs in 3rd place, that he is out of the order. In fact, he may have just started off. He did, and heads into the pits. So Paul Tracy drops out of 3rd place. But remember, he had that early stop, so he is out of the regular pit stop sequence.
traffic jams that you see here are just phenomenal. There is so much going on. There are 3 or 4 different race cars here at any time. Gary Gerald is in Paul Tracy's pit.
We watch as this crew springs into action, Derek, and this they would hope would be their last pit stop, but I don't think without the help of a yellow they can get to the distance because, as you said, they're out of sequence. Routine stop. He's moving, but moving slowly. Now the clutch engages. We had him at 15.2 on the stop, but then he may have lost another second or two trying to get out quickly.
Well, it would not appear that he could carry this car all the way to the end of the race. You're absolutely right, Gary. We'll keep track of Tracy because he is out of the sequence. Remember, Arie Luyendyk snatched off a victory here, being out of sequence. And just in the last few laps of the race, when all of the leaders were in for a splash of fuel, which is what is necessary here, Arie, being out of the sequence, moved up in the order and suddenly had the lead with just 2 laps to go and took the win.
Fastest car so far on the racetrack is Mansell, 20.8. But you know, Scott Goodyear is only a tick slower, 20.9. But I don't feel that Goodyear is able to do those type of lap times as consistently as Mansell. When Mansell gets into traffic, he is decisive.
Tracy comes out in 6th position behind 5th place Emerson Fittipaldi. You're looking at Teo Fabi. A little further down in the order, a battle for 11th place.
Fabi, another one of the drivers people were talking about. What's he going to do? Well, he is going to do a photo shoot next week for Pennzoil. That would suggest to me that he will be with this team for next season.
Just ahead of him, 10th place Eddie Cheever. And Fabi looking for any opportunity on Cheever to break into the top 10.
Learning curve for Cheever here, learning as he goes. This team came here for the test, but they had Roberto Guerrero in the car. They ran very well, but Cheever cannot always drive this car with Guerrero's setup.
Update on Eddie Cheever, Jan.
Paul, he's radioed in and he has said, Eddie Cheever has said the car is getting very loose. The track seems to continue to get more and more loose. He says the car is so bad, he thought a couple times that he had cut a tire. The crew says, Eddie, stay out there, stay out there. We got to get to the next pit window.
Penske cars come moving around. Teo Fabi moves down to the inside, lets them through. Cheever continues his battle on the circuit, and Mansell continues to lead. We are still under green flag with 128 laps complete. At Nazareth, it's still Nigel Mansell in front by 9.3 seconds over Scott Goodyear. Robbie Gordon is 3rd. Arie Luyendyk is 4th. And then the other contender in the championship, you see him there, number 4, the Marlboro car, Emerson Fittipaldi, as he comes up to challenge Luyendyk. And in doing so, he comes up 1 position in the field. Let's get an update on Arie. Jan Bigas?
Paul, he's another one that's called in with the car getting loose, and the crew has radioed back and says, take your roll bar, your front anti-roll bar, and go full stiff. That makes a stiffer front suspension. They'll give him a little more push. Hopefully will even out the car.
Well, Fittipaldi moved around him, picked up 4th place on that last lap, so he continues to struggle with his car. Now being challenged by Paul Tracy. Again, a fight for position. Tracy runs in 6th, Luyendyk in 5th. Behind Tracy is Stefan Johansson, then Bobby Rahal, Raul Boesel, and Eddie Cheever. That rounds out the top 10 for you. Fastest car on the track now is Scott Goodyear. He's beginning to pick up the pace a little bit. Still not closing in tightly on Mansell, but it could be a contest before this race is over.
And that would be a very interesting wrinkle in this race. He's less than 4 seconds behind Mansell, and I would have thought Mansell has a lot more to lose by going head-to-head with anybody, and Scott Goodyear, of course, has a lot to gain by giving everything he has and trying to go for the win.
What about Scott Goodyear, Jan Bikas?
Paul, he is one of the few drivers that did not come here for the sponsored IndyCar test. So they had to come here just starting with their Phoenix setup. Right now, he's running a car that started with a Phoenix setup, which I guess for most cars would push, but for him, it's worked out perfect today.
Well, that Phoenix setup gave him the pole at Phoenix, though it didn't fare as well in the race. As Luyendyk comes in, they make the changes to the car, hopefully to get it handling again, and he picks up what should be his last load of fuel. Let's remember that. Remember how he pulled off his last victory here. Mansell is still in the key position to score the championship at the end of the stay. He is 23 points ahead of Emerson, or ahead of Emerson Fittipaldi. Here's second place Scott Goodyear in the pits, Jan.
Scott Goodyear has come in, Paul, just when we finished that report. It turns out, believe it or not, he has a little bit of push. They went too far. You just saw right now, they put a half a turn of front wing into each front wing. He's got all the Scott Goodyear underway.
On the 139th lap, look at Eddie Cheever as he almost gets around him just before the blend line, but then tucks in behind him.
Notice the changes they're making. Half a turn is what Jan told us they made to Scott Goodyear's car. Now, you or I, to look at the car, could not measure half a turn, but that is how sensitive these racing cars are. At speeds approaching 180 miles an hour, that half a turn makes a very big difference out in the corners.
Nigel Mansell still in the key position. Now what does he do? He stays right here. He's in the right position to get ahead of Fittipaldi, take the championship here today. He has one more stop to go. The crew is there. You see them waiting for Mansell to make it into the pits. Now we can't afford any errors. But he can do nothing more than he's already done. He runs in the lead of the race. Everything now is up to Fittipaldi.
He needs consistency. Be careful as we watch Robbie Gordon make his last pit stop. But most of all, Nigel Mansell now needs mechanical reliability.
He's had it most of the season. Here's the man who can challenge him. He needs to close 1 point in.
Did you see what happened there? The wheel nut actually rolled down. That was the spare one. The front man threw it back to him. However, the right rear man already took his spare off his belt and stuck Fittipaldi's right rear wheel on.
Well, they do work together well. Mansell out in front. Scott Goodyear in second after the stops. Gordon is third. Fittipaldi is still fourth. Now everything in the championship is in the hands of Fittipaldi, assuming that Mansell continues running in the lead and his car is reliable.
Teamwork plays such an important role here because things happen so fast on the racetrack. You have to be so calm and collected when you bring your car into your crew members, but then they have to do everything just perfectly right.
Go back and take a look at Emerson Fittipaldi's pit stop.
Talk about teamwork. Watch the right rear tire. Now watch the wheel nut. Look, it rolls down. The left front man sees it, throws it back, and continues on his way. Being aware and working as a team is what makes Roger Penske's outfit so successful.
It's Rick Reineman working on the right front of that car, very aware of what's going on around him. Now, in that round of stops, Paul Tracy was able to get around Fittipaldi, and Tracy now runs in fourth. Look at Mansell as he battles with Gordon. He comes off, peels onto the pit road. This will be his final stop of the day. We'll come back to that Tracy Fittipaldi story in just a moment. As Gary Gerald, here comes Nigel Mansell. Will he end this day a champion?
Tommy Wirtz waving him into position. Boy, he glides in and he hits it beautifully. He's learned this whole business of IndyCar pit stops so well. The biggest problem on the ovals for Mansell this year, he says it's claustrophobic. He gets dizzy. We've had no complaints along those lines today, and they've made no changes to the car again. He's out of here in 14 seconds. That $1 million is looming bigger all the time.
Talk about claustrophobic. Maurizio Gugelmin, his quote on Nazareth was, "It's just like playing a video game. You're in a little box going round and round with very small movements of the steering wheel, just like being in a video game."
Perfect stop by the Newman Haas crew. Mansell into the pits in first, out of the pits in first. Now he must maintain position. So the question going back to Fittipaldi and Tracy is, will now team orders come into effect? Will Roger Penske order Paul Tracy to pull up short, let Fittipaldi pass, and try to get him into a better position? Just as you suggested at the start of the show, we will keep track on that situation, and we will keep track of this ongoing battle for the championship. For the moment, it looks very much like Nigel Mansell. Out the nose of Bobby Rahall's car as he moved around Mario Andretti. We'll take a look at the top 12 in this race with 155 miles of the 200-mile scheduled distance complete on this 1-mile tri-oval at Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Paul Tracy and Emerson Fittipaldi, the key here. Emerson needs to move up a position. Well, they wave Tracy and tell him to let Fittipaldi pass. Mark Smith looking very strong in 12th place. There's a young rookie to keep an eye out for this year. He's been very strong every race he's run.
Very strong. I believe this is his first oval track race. He didn't quite make the qualifying at Indianapolis, didn't make the race, but I believe this is his first oval track race. Now Ray Hall is in the pit lane, and he follows in Gugelmin.
Johansson.
No, it's Johansson.
As Johansson pulls off to the first pit, Ray Hall has to come down well past the halfway point before he makes his stop. Both these cars, of course, out of sequence because of stops early on in the run here. Boy, look at the smoke pour off the brakes on that. Ray Hall, they clean out the side pods. No other changes, though.
If the brakes are that warm, it means you're using them. If you're using them, it means your car is not handling well.
Jan skidded into that pit at the end. Jan, how'd the stop look?
Paul, the stop looked really well. We had a chance just before the stop to check in with team owner Carl Hogan. He said the changes we made on the first stop worked really well. We have a balanced car. We know we can move up from here. They were one of the last in the pit window. It's only Leyendijk we're waiting for now.
So we watch Ray Hall. We know the situation there. Let's try and take a look at Danny Sullivan, who runs well down in this order in 20th place. May stay with this team next year, has another year on his contract. Now, let's consider while we watch Danny this championship. Mansell leads the race. He has the point spread that he needs. He's 25 points ahead of Fittipaldi at this moment. What he needs to do is have Paul Tracy let him pass, or just simply race past Tracy, and race past Robbie Gordon, because Emerson needs to finish third to stay in the hunt for the championship.
Well, I don't think, well, I'd be shocked if he has to race past Tracy as this race unfolds, because I'm sure Tracy will be under orders to move over and let him by. I tell you what, though, Robbie Gordon won't make it easy.
Well, even absent that, Paul Tracy should have to make one other stop before the end of this race. So the guess would be they'll keep Tracy out until he has to make that stop and continue to run in position. There's Fittipaldi behind Bosell, moving through traffic. Behind Bosell in position on the course, not in the race itself.
We know this goes internationally. We also know that at the Penske Race Shop in Poole in England, they have a big screen TV where they bring the employees in to watch their work out on the racetrack. Today, they're not having the type of day that they would really like to see for all their efforts in England. 75 people works in Roger Penske's race shop in Poole in England.
It must be a nice sensation to sit across an ocean and watch a car that you put together perform here in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, though. I bet they wish it would perform just a little bit better right now.
And just a little bit is all it needs sometimes, because just a little bit extra is what Mansell has over everybody. Well, over most people, he has a lot more over a lot of people.
Well, we continue to run green flag, and because we're running under green flag conditions and have right from the first lap, we are running at a record pace of 176.6 miles an hour. The race record is 148 miles an hour. That was the average speed there at 160 laps, and Nigel continues to pick up the pace. 3 lead changes. The single caution was the waved off start, but of course the first lap counted as a lap under caution. So Nigel Mansell may in fact be on his way to making history with an IndyCar championship back-to-back with his Formula One title. He still runs in the lead, well ahead of Scott Goodyear, who is in second place. Robbie Gordon, with another great performance, sits in third place. And then Paul Tracy and Emerson Fittipaldi, the Penske cars. You see Emo just ahead there as he runs ahead of Bobby Rahal. Emo has clear track to run, but look at Rahal come up to try and get a lap back from Fittipaldi, and he does so. So Fittipaldi is struggling. In the Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix here at Pennsylvania International Raceway at Nazareth, Nigel Mansell still in the key position to take the championship. He sits right now 25 points ahead of Emerson Fittipaldi. One assumes that Paul Tracy has yet to make a pit stop and will fall out of fourth place. That will move Fittipaldi forward, but the position he really needs is currently occupied by Robbie Gordon. It's third place. Second place here continues to be Scott Goodyear.
And the traffic jam continues here as Emerson tries to pick his way through. You got to be very careful. That's Mark Smith in last year's Penske that Emerson now trails through turn 2, up over the top of the hill and the downhill run, the fastest part of the racetrack.
Mansell could be within 10 minutes of a championship now. Let's look for him as he comes through traffic. There he is. The red number 5 continues to roar on here. A man who has this year driven his first oval and mastered the ovals. He's been incredible, as he is here today.
And he has everybody in a firm headlock at the moment, trying to get a submission. Mansell is being brutal here on his competitors. He is superb and in total control.
Up inside Johansson, but still, look at how careful he's been playing it. None of that solid attack into the field now. Now he senses that victory just down the road, and more important, that championship. In third place, it continues to be Robbie Gordon, Jan Bikas. Jan?
Paul, you talk about being delicate in traffic. Robbie Gordon has called in and has had a couple of big moments. He said he almost got put in the wall by Danny Sullivan, and then just a couple moments ago, he just on his own got squirrely and almost tagged the wall. He's trying very hard, knows that he's running in third place.
His car owner, A.J. Foyt, had a little surgery this past week, is watching at home. Wonder what he's doing with the TV set. I'll bet he's yelling and screaming and cheering Robbie on.
Well, I'll tell you what, his blood pressure is up, because that is now 3 incidents that Robbie Gordon has had. 2 we didn't see, but 1 we clearly saw earlier when he hit Scott Goodyear on the run down to turn 3.
Red number 5 still on the charge. 180 laps complete. 20 miles to a potential championship, a historic championship. Now he's taken on some care. Very careful with Johansson just ahead. He has a strong lead over Scott Goodyear, and he recognizes the key is not the race here, though he would certainly like to win it. The key is Fittipaldi, and Fittipaldi is not in position to continue to challenge for the championship.
And at Mid-Ohio, he almost dropped the ball with the incident with Paul Tracy at the first turn. In fact, he had very strong and severe words against Tracy, blaming him for that incident on that first corner. However, all is forgotten this weekend, and now we watch the display of pure aggression and raw speed and talent.
Paul Tracy, will he have to make another pit stop? I assume he would. Gary Gerald, will he?
That's what I thought. Just checked with 2 members of the crew, and they say no, that they've got the mixture leaned down to the point where they can make it to the checkered flag without making that stop. So what does that do to Emerson Fittipaldi's title chances?
Well, I presume, Gary, that what that means is that they will want Tracy to give way to Fittipaldi and at least let him into 4th, so he'll be in a key position if something happens to Gordon. What do you think?
Well, I would think that certainly would make an awful lot of sense. Maybe we can get a confirmation here.
What about Fittipaldi? Jan Bikas, can you give us more?
Well, they know that Paul Tracy is going to come in, so in other words, if you check with the other Penske team, they're keeping an eye. So I guess Paul Tracy will be coming in. They know that will give him 4th position. They also know that's not enough for Emerson. They say, but we cannot catch him, Paul, is what they say. Without a yellow, we can't go any further. They're already on full rich.
And what Gary's saying is that Tracy doesn't have to come in, so he will have to give way.
Well, according to what, I mean, they're right next to each other. I can see Gary from here. He is checking with Tracy's team. They say, no, we don't have to stop. You check with Emerson's, they say, yes, Tracy is going to stop. So it's anybody's guess.
So the Penske team, they're still in competition with one another. Mansell in competition with no one. He continues to lead. He still has his hand very firmly on the championship, and in 14 miles, he just could be the IndyCar champion. Scott Goodyear is the only one that can contest him for the win of the race. This is the man that can make the difference in the championship. Number 4, Emerson Fittipaldi. He rides in 5th place right now. His teammate, Paul Tracy, is just ahead of him. It is what he does. Now they have flipped position. Now they've flipped.
On the racetrack, yes, you're right. He's actually behind him on the racetrack. But we now know that even if Tracy helps Emerson, it's not good enough. He needs a lot of help from a Mansell or a Goodyear or a Gordon. He needs either of those 3 cars to have some sort of problem or difficulty.
The point I was about to make, though, is that Mansell is doing everything that he can. Mansell's leading the race, led the most laps. He can do no more. Right now, it is Fittipaldi's championship to lose. And with now just 8 laps to go, 8 miles, Fittipaldi does not appear to have any chance whatsoever.
And Emerson went into this race with almost a tag team because his Penske teammate Paul Tracy was going to be able to support him, but the cars were not good enough. He needs a lot more than Paul Tracy's help now if he is even to have a breath of fresh air to try and grasp a hold of this championship.
The race is Mansell, followed by Goodyear. They're the only two on the same lap. Then Gordon, then Tracy, then Fittipaldi. Ray Hall is 6th. 7th is Johansson, followed by Lyondike, Bozell, and Cheever. Teo Fabi runs in 11th place, followed by Mark Smith, Mario Andretti, David Kudrave, and Scott Brayton in 15th. Go back to the front of the field, take a look at Nigel Mansell, as now he certainly can calculate that he is very, very close. In fact, just a few minutes away from grasping his dream of this year, an IndyCar championship. And what a remarkable accomplishment it is, as it has been throughout the year. He comes to the first race at Australia, sits on the pole, takes the win. Newman Haas Racing. There's Carl. Pretty calm, only one end of the cigar bitten.
Doesn't take Mansell very long to learn these racetracks. Even when he came here for a test session, in less than a day, he was virtually down to the track record. High-speed corners and entering high-speed corners, driving down to the apex, is always where Mansell has been extremely fast. That's the benefit we see him have here now, Mansell, as well as a very good car.
He adapts so quickly on these circuits, especially on the ovals. He seems to love the high speed and the traffic. Now 197 laps complete.
It all unfolds now for Mansell. You just got to be very, very careful, but there may be some position changes going on right behind Mansell.
You take a look just back behind Mansell. Paul Tracy and Robbie Gordon are there as they continue to battle their position out. There's Mansell as he moves around. He should see a white flag next time around. A white flag not only on this race, but now less than a mile to the IndyCar Championship. Paul Tracy got around Gordon, and Tracy now sits in 3rd, the position that Fittipaldi wishes he had.
There's the traffic jam there that includes Tracy, but Emerson is the key. He cannot get close enough to Gordon to make a difference to have Tracy help him.
The final lap now being run at Nazareth, and there is the checkered flag for Nigel Mansell. The Kmart Haviland Lola takes the win, and in doing so, takes the IndyCar Championship. A piece of history in the making here. Paul Tracy pulls alongside, gives a wave of congratulations to Mansell. Paul Newman, accepting the congratulations from his team members, reaches up to say thank you to Carl Haas for yet another great and successful championship season, this time with their new rookie. He can now, without any question, take any rookie stripes that may be around anywhere off, because he goes from rookie to champion. Nigel Mansell. And already they've got the hats out, Gary.
Here's Paul Newman down here exchanging greetings with Carl Haas. Paul, can we get a quick word as we congratulate you and this team on an IndyCar championship?
It's an extraordinary year. My hat's off to him.
Can you believe how this guy adapted to the ovals?
Really extraordinary. Awesome.
And I guess the great thing is you've got him back for a couple more seasons.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Well, we're going to have some awful good racing next year.
Forward to it. Congratulations. All right.
But Nigel Mansell rolls into the winner's circle, taking the race in the Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix and taking the championship as they wave the Union Jack here in Nazareth. Bring it down.
Indeed, at Victory Lane, Nigel Mansell has been going around hugging every member of the team and the crew that he can find. Nigel, I don't know when you decided that you were going to make the commitment to go IndyCar racing, if you seriously entertained thoughts that you might be able to win a championship in your rookie year. Did you?
Whew, not really, no. But I mean, I dedicate this championship to the Newman Haas team, and especially all the boys, because they've just done a fantastic job, and it's a very emotional moment for me.
You talked, when you announced the signing of a new contract yesterday, about how important one of your former car owners, Colin Chapman, had been in your life, and you said that Carl Haas has taken a place right alongside now as such a person of such importance.
You can see the friendship in the team. I mean, we're one big family. I mean, Carl's here now.
Show the hat, show the hat. Show the hat.
Unbelievable. You didn't win it by
And now Peter Gibbons, the chief engineer on the team. Mansell savoring this moment with the emotion. We'll try to get further comments from Nigel in just a second.
Still on TV, Nigel.
The Ford Cosworth folks Boy, you talk about the emotion, and I think the thing that surprised everybody, and I want to know if it surprised you, is how readily you've been able to adapt to the ovals.
It's pure racing at its best, and I mean, you saw some of the overtaking maneuvers, 3 abreast, 4 abreast. I just love racing, and I just like this kind of racing. I just forget I'm on an oval and it's just pure racing.
When you look back over this season, and there are many moments that stand out, and one of those has to be what you endured at Phoenix in only the second or third race of the year. Did you think at that time, with the injury, that you'd be able to come back and contend?
No, I didn't. I mean, it's all credit to the Newman Haas team and all the fantastic sponsors we have, and especially Ford and Cosworth. I mean, the power plant today worked just absolutely beautifully, and you know, the Goodyear tires, and of course the principal sponsors we have, Texaco, Haviland, Kmart, Energizer, all of them have just done a fantastic job. And of course, if you want your Hoovers to clean your house the best, Dirt Devil's the best.
Listen to the pitch man. Now, last week, I know there was frustration at Mid-Ohio, and you worked so hard to get 1 point. And as it turns out now, that may have been the pivotal point that allowed you to clinch today, a race before the season is over.
Yeah, I mean, I drove my heart out at Mid-Ohio, and that's a great thing with the regulations.
Here comes Paul Newman now. I think you get the idea of how much it means to this team. And keep in mind, a new contract signed yesterday. Nigel, we look forward to seeing you in an IndyCar again, not only next year, but for a year beyond that at least. Congratulations.
Hey, thank you, and congratulations to the team and the boys. The mechanics just did an absolutely outstanding job all year, and it's all credit to them.
Time to savor it.
Thank you.
All right, from Formula One champion to IndyCar champion in such a short space of time. Let's go to Jan Beekes.
Another driver that's savoring a great run today. You started 10th, Scott, and moved up to second place. Great run.
That was good. We had to make a major change after the warm-up this morning with a shortened one-day program, and car didn't work very well, had a major push on it, so the guys in the Walker team did a great job. We changed wings, it worked for us. We needed a couple of little adjustments throughout the stops, and we just couldn't catch them. I didn't think I got traffic all that well today.
But a big push really helps here today because the track got loose.
Well, I think it depends on what the car has, actually, because we made some changes on that last stop, and all of a sudden we had a car that was loose, and I couldn't push it. I couldn't run in traffic, but all in all, I'm very pleased. Everybody in the McKinsey Valvoline team did a great job. We had some great stops, and it's nice to be finishing off the year like this.
Scott Goodyear, a very happy driver today. Paul?
So Newman Haas Racing wins in '84 the championship with Mario, with Michael in 1991, and now with Nigel Mansell, the magnificent rookie here at Nazareth. Well, the celebrations continue, though not as big a celebration in the Penske pit. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Emerson Fittipaldi just had been on the phone to his countryman down in Brazil. And Emerson, is it difficult to explain how the championship hopes that were so bright a week ago, now that fire has been put out and Mr. Mansell gets to celebrate? Is this tough for you?
Well, it's very tough, Gary. Look, in the beginning of the race, I did a great start. I was able to take the lead. The car was really well balanced, and then I started losing balance, and the car went to loose. I think the track has changed, and I'm disappointed. Nigel drove a beautiful race. I mean, he was very quick, very consistent the whole race, and ourselves, myself and Paul, were trying to trim the car for the conditions, and we're not able to be consistent.
Had there been a yellow flag, and amazingly there was not, would that have made any difference? Could you have caught Nigel?
No, I don't think so. I think just the way both cars were balanced was not as quick as Nigel's car. Nigel was driving beautiful race, and he was very quick, and I don't think there was any way to catch. You have to catch him next year.
Are you surprised, Emerson, at how quickly he was able to adapt and win, I guess, the last 5 oval races this year? I'm
very surprised, Gary, because coming from Formula One, it's very tough to drive on a short oval, and he was amazing quick on the oval. I mean, that's I would like to congratulate him. He did a beautiful job.
Well, we congratulate you on making it a great championship run throughout this season. We'll see you in a couple weeks at Laguna.
Thank you, Gary.
All right, let's go to Jan Beekes.
His teammate, Gary, is, of course, Paul Tracy, driving the other Marlboro car. Now, Paul, you now know you're third, but when you first got here, a bit of a dispute with Robbie Gordon.
Well, I knew I was third. I think Robbie thought that I was way back, and I caught him with about 6 laps to go and got around him, and I don't think he realized that I was in third, so he didn't put up too much of a fight, which was kind of nice.
But then you had you got to send him back to the showers, as they say.
Yeah, I had to send him back to his shop, as they said. But it was a good day for us. We were quick right off the bat with the Marlboro car, and then we ran into a loose condition, and pretty much from there we couldn't get rid of it. We just kind of hung onto the car all day and just hung in there.
But you have more miles here than any other driver. Why did that track go loose?
Well, I think everybody was loose. I think I wasn't as bad as most people, but you know, looking at some of the other guys, they were really loose. But you know, it's just this weekend the track changes with weather, and we didn't get a chance to really get it set up the way we would like it. But you know, all in all, we got the whole weekend done in one day, and you know, it was a testament to CART and their organization skills, and I think it was a great weekend. Got a new champion, and good weekend for everybody.
Paul Tracy, another one of those drivers, couldn't quite find that balance. Paul?
Boy, what a difference a year makes on Paul Tracy. Look how confident he appears. Emerson Fittipaldi, they talk it over now. What could they have done? But now it is too late. Nigel Mansell has taken the IndyCar Championship. Official ceremony is just about ready to begin to congratulate and honor Nigel Mansell as the champion. But let's talk to some of the others in this fight. Fourth place, Robbie Gordon. Gary?
Robbie, you really worked hard. You end up fourth in this one. Now, Tracy got by there in the late stages. Did you know he was coming up and that would be a fight for position?
Yeah, basically I got held up a little bit from Stefan, and I was battling with Stefan, and I couldn't get by him, you know, without taking big chances. And I didn't know if Tracy would catch me or not, and all of a sudden we both got held up, and he made up like 6 seconds in one lap. But, you know, that's racing. Tracy did a good job. Our car ran pretty good all day long, and we'll just wait till Laguna.
Surprising that you get one of these events, you go 200 laps without a yellow flag. There's no chance to get a breather. You're in that traffic all the time. This is a tremendous workout, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. You know, it wasn't too bad though. You know, it was 200 laps. I wasn't tired at the end. Too bad it wasn't 400. Maybe we could go farther and get higher up on the podium.
Now, any word from how the boss man, A.J. Foyt's doing? Because we know he wasn't here today. He had surgery this past week.
Well, I hope he's doing okay, and I wish him well. And I also wish a friend of mine, Kendall family, a lot of luck. And you know, they're great buddies of mine. His father passed away not too long ago, and I just want to say we loved you.
And I'm sure that they appreciate that very much. In this learning curve that you're in this season, how much do you think Robbie Gordon, the IndyCar driver, has improved since back early in March at Australia?
I think we're really consistent right now. We just moved into 8th in points, and I'm ecstatic. You know, we have one more race left this year, and we'll just try to get in the top 10 for points.
And how about the plans for 1994? Any more you can share with us?
Just want to win races.
Wherever it may be. Paul?
Well, the order of standings unofficial at the moment. Boy, look at him celebrate down there in the winner's circle. Nigel Mansell takes the win, followed by Scott Goodyear, Paul Tracy. Then you just talked with Robbie Gordon. Emerson Fittipaldi, he needed third. He finishes in 5th place. And then Bobby Rahal. Looking down the bottom half of the top 12, Stefan Johansson, Arie Luyendyk, Raul Boesel. Eddie Cheever finally gives the Kingsport car a good ride here. And then Teo Fabi and Mark Smith with a fine result. 13th through 18th, Mario Andretti, not his best day, but David Coudray with a good result. Scott Brayton, Brian Till, Robbie Buell, Olivier Griard. 23 cars actually finished the competition. Willie Ribbs, Danny Sullivan, Hiro Matsushita, Ross Bentley, and Marco Greco. All of those running at the finish. Mauricio Gugelmin, and then Al Unser Jr. and Buddy Lazier falling out of the run here at Nazareth. A run that saw Nigel Mansell take both the win of the race and his 5th of the season, his 4th win on an oval, and scoring 191 points. That's enough to take the championship of the IndyCars. There is now still one more race to go this season. Paul Tracy sits back in 3rd place as Raul Boesel drops back into 4th place, and Bobby Rahal now sits in 5th. Now, the final stop of the PPG IndyCar World Series will be seen live on ESPN2 Sunday, October 3rd at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 p.m. Pacific from Laguna Seca Road Course at Monterey, California. The first live American event on the new ESPN2, and then same-day coverage of the championship race that evening at 9 o'clock Eastern Time here on ESPN. The race has been run, but there are still presentations to be made, both for the win of the race and for the championship. We'll be back to cover those. Here in Nazareth at the Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix, they're getting ready for the formal presentation of the PPG Cup to Nigel Mansell as he takes his first championship. And an interesting fact, because Formula One is not yet resolved, here stands Mansell holding 2 championships at the same time.
And the great thing and the enjoyable thing about watching Nigel Mansell is he wins these things with speed and style. He doesn't wait for races to unfold and begin to come back to him or fall into his lap. He just goes out and pursues it so aggressively That's why he is one of the most popular racing drivers around the world with the fans, whether he's in F1 or now in Indy cars.
And look there, you've got a glimpse of the giant press contingent. Those are all media people around him there. Look at them, all their cameras, the photographers. That's actually located in between the warm-up lane and the pit road, so that requires special credential to get in that particular area. It gives some idea of what Mansell has done in terms of drawing the international press, and now with these broadcasts going to 100 nations around the world, it has truly become a remarkable global network. But now a champion. Let's go to Gary.
It's my pleasure to present you with the PPG Cup. Congratulations.
Well, thank you, and it makes me very, very proud indeed, and I can thank you on behalf of all the drivers for your involvement in this World Series, and I just can't thank enough people, so just thanks everybody and all the people who should come from Europe here today. It's a very special day for me, as you're all aware, and I'm just glad everyone shared in it. Thank you very much.
Great season.
Tom Craig making the presentation to Nigel Mansell. That's a heavy one, Nigel. Be careful. He got ready to hoist it for some official photos here, being congratulated by Craig. And I'll tell you what, this is just what a moment this has to be for Nigel Mansell, the veteran driver who's been through so many such ceremonies in his career, but you could clearly see all of the emotion that was there earlier today. And I think it's now just really starting to begin to take a toll on the man who went 200 miles today in flawless fashion and without benefit of a yellow flag or anything else. And look at him enjoy this moment, Paul.
A man who early in his racing career broke his neck and was told he would never drive again, now stands in the winner's circle at Pennsylvania International Raceway, holding the Formula One World title and the PPG Cup at the same time. By the way, that is the little PPG Cup. That's the replica. That's not even the big one. Let's go down to Jan Beekes.
We're standing by with the other half of this championship, his wife, Roseanne. Must be a very special day for you as well.
It feels wonderful, and relief with a capital R. So
you have done a lot of racing series. How does this feel as compared to Formula One?
It just feels equally as good, and probably because it's a back-to-back championship and never been done before, it probably feels even that bit better. And it's just been a wonderful year, super team, and hello to everybody.
Now, what do you feel about the people in this whole series? Because it does have a different feel than in Europe.
There's a totally different atmosphere, and it's just everybody's very warm. The competitiveness is there, but the camaraderie is wonderful.
Thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So that family will have a great deal to celebrate. Kids are in school, though they couldn't come for this race. I wondered whether or not they were going to bring the whole family up here. Nigel Mansell now standing for all of the official photographs here. Tremendous press corps assembled as Nigel Mansell. Plenty of folks over from Europe who have come here to watch him take the IndyCar championship. Remarkable day here at Nazareth under beautiful blue skies overhead, and definitely blue skies for Nigel Mansell. We're back at Nazareth. We'll have bonus coverage of the Hardee's Classic Golf coming up at 3 o'clock, but Nigel Mansell continues to celebrate, and he should celebrate. It's a magnificent victory, Derek.
It really is, and there will be lots of what-ifs in the Penske pit, because what if Fittipaldi's championship drive had not been derailed a little bit towards the center of the season, at the back at the end, the middle of the season. But Paul Newman also alluded to next year. Can you imagine what we have to look forward to now with Michael Andretti going head-to-head with Nigel Mansell?
And maybe a dozen or so Formula One drivers here at Nazareth looking for a possible future here. Gary Gerald, final thoughts.
I tell you, it is a bright future for this series. Of course, we've got a race at Laguna, but I look back over what Mansell's done, and if you'd have told me back in March that he would win at New Hampshire, he'd win at Milwaukee, that he'd win on the mile here at Nazareth, I would have said, you're crazy. I didn't think there was any possible way a man could adapt that quickly. My hat's off to Nigel Mansell. I'm thoroughly impressed.
Jan Beekes, you've been in the cockpit of these cars as well. It's a remarkable achievement.
It's a remarkable achievement, not only for Nigel Mansell, but for he and his engineer. They chose the perfect setup today. You had to start with push. They did that. It paid off for them today.
So Nigel Mansell continues to celebrate here and go through the formalities of all of the photographs that will be circulated worldwide. Fort Cosworth and Lola have taken the championship, taken the victory here. A very happy Englishman. Congratulations to Nigel Mansell, who wins the race here at Nazareth, the Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix, and the PPG IndyCar World Championship. The Union Jack is predominant here. 5 now equals number 1. Mansell is the champion. So long from Nazareth.